Yeah, another ref video that I wanted to watch, and it's about gooning. I mean, Stellar Blade. I honestly have to try the game someday. Seems very interesting and fun, but okay.
Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So over the past year or so in the gaming industry, there's been a lot of reaping and sowing, both good and bad. And a lot of games that pandered and virtue signaled and spent more time caring about what screechers on Twitter might think, well, they failed. We also saw some examples
Yeah.
of games that just wanted to provide a good experience with appealing character designs, and they succeeded. And one of those
You know what? I freaking like love this image here. Like the background image here that Rev is using. Because the gaming journalists and the freedom fighters on Reddit and Twitter still can't cope that Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade were amazing games created by passionate Eastern developers, while their so-called woke shit created by mentally ill idiots have failed completely. Look at Concord, Star Wars Outlaw, Black Assassin's Creed, Japan, Dustborn. Where are the modern audiences for those games? Dead. They are dead.
those games that released last year was Stellar Blade, released back in April of that year, and it had enormous levels of success and was a huge hit for Shift Up and Sony.
Now, yeah, I do have to give credit to Sony for even allowing a game like Stellar Blade to be created. But let's not forget, they were the ones who commissioned for Concord, almost killed Helldivers because of their ridiculous user policies, still having stupid ass console exclusive titles, and also stole the Game of the Year award from Black Myth Wukong. I despise them as a company, but they are undoubtedly still doing some great work for gaming, and I can respect that.
Now, here we are in the year 2025 in June, and they just had their PC release. Now, there is plenty of journalists who are still fuming about this game and doing everything in their power to kill the hype. You can see PC Games N here giving a paltry 6 out of 10.
What a
saying
joke,
this game
man.
is basically very underwhelming and boring. But of course, even IGN had to eventually admit that this PC release was a massive success.
You know what? We don't hate gaming journalists enough yet. How should I put this? They are parasites and a disease for the gaming industry. Yeah, sure, in the past, they might have provided some semblance of education or information for gamers. But nowadays, they are just failed drama students cosplaying as freedom fighters. Everything is an agenda for them for some reason. Can't understand, how do people like this exist? It's a joke, honestly, a joke.
PC version of Stellar Blade is already Sony's biggest single-player Steam launch ever, and the numbers look insane. Right now in the middle of the afternoon, a few days into the PC release, you can see over 140,000 in-game PC players, despite the 6 out of 10 from that previous journalist. The Steam review percentage is 92%. If you look at the charts, it's actually gaining momentum over the past couple of days.
You want to know why Stellar Blade is doing so well? It's because of the mods. The amount of gooner mods I've seen in the recent weeks for this game is actually insane. I even saw one that turns the characters fat. I guess that's your inclusion. Why are gaming journalists complaining? They're being represented through the mods. What more could they ask for? Like, seriously.
These numbers just fly in the face of all the excuses various shills have provided for other games. We heard this with Dragon Age the Veilguard and Assassin's Creed Shadows, where Steam DB charts, they don't matter. They're not real numbers because they're releasing the game on multiple platforms, so these numbers aren't reliable. And of course, both of those games failed financially and really just proved the people relying on the charts correct. But
I mean, what do you expect? These people don't care about numbers or facts. They just live in constant delusions and don't have any shred of common sense. Even if they are proven wrong, they'll just move the goalposts and make up some other excuse because that's what they're good at, making shit up, like living in delusions, lying to themselves.
here, this game releases on PC after releasing on console over a year ago and has numbers that crushed those two previous games that I just mentioned. On top of that, like I said, a year later, think about a different example with Star Wars Outlaws that had a Steam release very shortly after its initial release, which a lot of people were surprised by. That wasn't seemingly the plan, but even then, after a much shorter window between the releases, their Steam numbers were in the few thousand. Okay, and that's despite being a major AAA
You know
release
why?
from a
Because the
beloved
characters look
franchise.
ugly as
Now, of
fuck.
course, these numbers seem undeniable. Even the shills cannot deny this. The journalists have to accept the reality that this PC launch was a major success. So what do they do now? They seethe. Here's Vice taking a break from their Waypoint journalists slandering VTubers to make this banger, saying Stellar Blade PC launch breaks Steam sales records thanks to its thirsty fan base. Stellar Blade is breaking numbers, largely being fueled by its thirsty fan base. Yeah, largely by thirsty players. That's what Vice has to say. And of course,
Honestly, just reading this article from Vice, I'll say it again. You don't hate gaming journalists enough. They're trying so hard to slander Stellar Blade that they think calling the players thirsty is supposed to be some kind of insult. I mean, if humans were not thirsty, we would all go extinct. And I'm sorry if most gaming journalists look like Golok the Destroyer or something. But don't blame people for wanting to look at pretty things. There's a reason why people enjoy seeing like beautiful architecture, sceneries, and cute animals or majestic animals, whatever you like, because they're visually appealing. Have you ever walked into a dump and said, I like this place a lot because it really represents me? Garbage. No, like, what the hell, man? What kind of logic is that? I don't know, man. Like, Western gaming journalists are another breed of insane, honestly.
has to say. And of course, the people at Shift Up disagree. They think the biggest reason for the success is its combat. Now, of course, nobody is blind here. The appealing character designs and the appealing outfits contained in Stellar Blade definitely contributed to its success. A lot of people were happy to see it, but that is not the end-all be-all of a game success like this.
Yeah, of course.
Clearly, a lot of people really enjoyed the gameplay and the combat. Clearly, to minimize all of this just to appealing character designs and thirsty players is a gigantic cope. We've seen other games lean heavily into appealing character designs with a lot of fan service, perhaps even more than Stellar Blade, and one example is the first Descendant, which right now, despite being a live service game that's free to play, has numbers that have really floundered. They got off to a really good start, but things changed really quickly, and they really haven't recovered in any sort of a significant way because the gameplay just doesn't connect with people as much as Stellar Blade did. But things would get worse.
Like, I don't understand why people can't seem to get this. Yes, sex appeal can sell games, but it can only go so far. You might enjoy the game for the first few hours, but if it doesn't have decent gameplay or story, people will not go back to playing that game. Just to look at Expedition 33, the character designs were good looking, and maybe you can argue the turn-based gameplay gets repetitive or grindy after a while, but people kept going back to the game because of how amazing the story was. And from the reviews I have seen of Stellar Blade from actual players, the game definitely doesn't just rely on sex appeal alone. But gaming journalists are somehow just too blinded by their ideology to give a non-biased opinion. If just having sex appeal and gooning mechanics can sell games, then why the fuck are those porn games on Steam not raking in money? Like, explain that to me. They are solely based on gooning and sex appeal. Why are they all terrible games then? Tell me. Because they have terrible mechanics, their gameplay is shit, and the art style most of the time are just AI generated. But apparently, gaming journalists thinks that gooners fund the entire gaming industry, which is such an insane and out of touch way of thinking.
Worse. PC Gamer is very upset about this, probably more upset about what's going on with the PC release more than anyone else. Okay, they came up with this saying, Gooner Game of the Year, Stellar Blade's mods are 41% smut, ensuring gamers will never see the light of heaven. Don't you love it when PC Gamer tells you you're never gonna see the light of heaven for playing Stellar?
Okay, I'm not sure what does the light of heaven implies, but the only light of heaven I know is this person, light heaven, Dota. This guy is an absolute Dota legend, winning TI with Puppy on Navi. Was it TI1? Yeah, I think it was TI1. Like the champion, the first champion of TI. This is the light of heaven I know, not some bullshit like idiom or synonym or metaphor being used by PC gamer.
Blade, and the way they describe this game is ridiculous. The Gooner game. Okay, this person did some work with Grok here to compare the number of intercourse scenes in all of these games versus the Gooner games like Stellar Blade. Dragon Age the Veilguard, 7. Mass Effect 3, 6 to 8. Cyberpunk 2077, 4 to 6.
Let me guess.
So on and so
Stellar
forth.
Blade
Baldur's
has
Gate,
0.
Dragon Age Inquisition, God of
Yeah.
War, and then Stellar Blade
Stellar Blade has 0.
with 0. Goose Egg. And yet this is the Gooner game. Not Dragon Age the Veilguard, nothing else on this list. It's just Stellar Blade. Because, well, these journalists have a massive bias. They just don't like this game and what it stands for, just being a product designed for gamers.
You know what I think? They probably don't hate it because it's designed for gamers. Maybe it's partially one of the reasons. But another reason I can think of is that they hate Stellar Blade because it's against their agenda. And 2, they're jealous of pretty girls. That's very obvious. And 3, this is like I have a conspiracy theory, but I'm pretty sure they were hired by Western developers to slander their competition because they know Eastern companies are growing and are now more than capable of making their own amazing games, which obviously would threaten the market share for Western developers. So they might be trying to like shift the public perception towards Eastern companies, implying that Eastern Asians and people from like Eastern countries are all gooners and we don't care about the quality of game. We only care about gooning and all gooning, everything gooning. Just literally last year, just look at Black Myth Wukong. There was so many hit pieces written by every single gaming news outlet, and even when the misinformation was disproven and debunked, they did not even bother to come out to issue an apology or rectify their misinformation. It's so obvious what they are doing, and it's just sad that Western developers had to resort to this type of tactics to apparently win over consumers. But we all know that has failed.
And they're just seething about its success. Now, going to the article itself, it gets even more ridiculous as you read through. So they say stuff like this. Stellar Blade finally hit PC 2 days ago, giving everyone a chance to do whatever it is this game is actually about. Unfortunately, no one knows what that is because the entirety of discourse surrounding it is about the main character's butt.
Okay, I'm guessing this person did not bother to even play the game because judging by the way he structured the sentence, it's clear that he probably hasn't played the game and are basing his opinions on like other people, like second-hand opinions from other people. And it's interesting how the same people who always cry about men objectifying women, and yet they are literally objectifying the main character by focusing on her butt for some reason. People aren't even praising Stellar Blade because of the butt. Yeah, sure, some people mention the jigger physics and all of that, but like I said, you need to have a good story and gameplay in order to keep people playing. But gaming journalists simply are too like maybe dumb to realize that.
Are you joking? You're the one limiting this entire game to its fan service and the appeal of its character designs. This is not something that no one knows what it's about. A lot of people do, including millions of people. They know because they played through the game, and clearly PC Gamer hasn't bothered. They don't know what this game's about. They're just relying on a bunch of weirdos on Twitter who are upset about this game. Now,
yeah, second-hand information.
They keep seething, and they say, by intense scientific calculus counting, fully 96 of the 234 mods available for this game, 41% that currently exist for Stellar Blade, are marked as adult. And frankly, some of the ones that are not marked as adult are probably not safe for work. How do you feel about Eve Feet Hands? Good? Would you discuss that with your grandparents over Christmas dinner.
What kind of
No.
stupid ass
Why would you
analogy
talk
is
about
that?
not safe for work content and mods for this game with your grandparents over Christmas? What a stupid thing to say. Would you talk about
Yeah.
this article with
Completely
your
stupid.
grandparents at Christmas? I don't think so. And I also think there's other articles that this person has wrote that they definitely would not be sharing with their grandparents over Christmas. Look at the name here. Joshua Wallens. Well, let's look back to September of 2024, not even a year ago. They made an entire article about Baldur's Gate 3's bear intercourse scene.
Not just that, this same retard also wrote an article about also Baldur's Gate. That article was talking about a sex doll or something. PC gamer, Baldur's Gate sex doll. Yeah, this guy Joshua Volans, he literally wrote an article about finding love and abandoning God with this 20,000 fully customizable Baldur's Gate Ostarion sex doll. So is it like gooning for D and not for me? Like why do people like this always get ousted as goddamn hypocrites every single time? Also, this guy was searching for sex dolls. Like he was searching for sex dolls during his work hours. I'm not trying to kink shame or anything, but I'm pretty sure that is also a weird thing to do, and yet he's calling people who enjoy Stellar Blade as gooners. Apparently gooners are people who like straight things, who are straight. But if you are gay or something else, it's not gooning. Like, what kind of stupid ass logic is that?
And how important this was to spreading the message of the game. I kid you not. Would you share this with your grandparents at Christmas dinner? I don't think so, dude. And you're a massive hypocrite. This is the person telling you you're not going to see the pearly gates because you played Stellar Blade, but then they act like this not even a year ago. It's complete hypocrisy. Everyone can see this, and this is why games journalists are a complete and utter joke. Now, there's some more people upset about the success of Stellar Blade. Some people are still coping on Steam, and they're trying to leave negative reviews. Look at some of these. Let's start here. The male gaze and objectification of women. Eve's hypersexualized appearance, skin-tight outfits, exaggerated body proportions, and voyeuristic camera work are a major selling point in the game and reflects a design rooted in the male gaze. When a woman's strength is constantly filtered through her sex appeal, her power becomes conditional, and it's acceptable only if it's visually pleasing to a presumed male gaze.
Oh my god. Shit. I think I have brain damage just hearing that. Exaggerated body proportions. Either that person has never talked to a real girl before, or this person only knows Golok the Destroyers. Every single woman around this person are probably just Goloks. And I'm gonna tell you guys this. If you have any female friends that haven't been brainwashed by Western media, or they are from Western countries, because let's be honest, most Western women are basically doomed at this point. But what I'm saying is, if you have female friends and you ask them if they like seeing pretty girls, they will almost always say yes. Like, no joke, I have female friends who are more down bad gooners than me, and they'll always drool over a pretty girl they see on either Instagram or in public. Like, is it so hard to believe that not only guys enjoy pretty women, but women enjoy pretty women as well? Is it so hard to believe that? Like, what the hell? What the fuck?
Ultimately, Stellar Blade reinforces the idea that women should appeal to the male gaze to be in the spotlight. Again, I always love when people bring up the camera work. You control the camera, buddy. Okay, if you're using it in that way, that's on you. But people like appealing designs. This is not shocking. And also, guess what? It's not just men who enjoy these designs. Women do too. And I love people like this who speak on behalf of women. They basically say, there's no way you actually like this game, clearly, because it's so designed for the male gaze, which is so backwards. It's like peak male feminist energy. We see it all the time. But here's another one saying, mod to make it less sexual. Laugh, throw clowns, etc. I've heard great things about the gameplay. I'm a huge fan of this genre. I would love to play, but I genuinely can't enjoy or get into a game as blatantly sexual as
Play
this.
something
This person
else.
wants a mod to tone down this game. Just buy another game. If this is
Or maybe learn to mod yourself or go into rehab or something. If this person can't handle the fan service of Stellar Blade because if they are so easily affected by a character from a game, I pray they never go outside or interact with girls. This Princess Leliana person might outright explode with either jealousy or like goon energy. Like, come on, man. It's ridiculous.
is too much for you, if this offends you morally or whatever, that's fine. But no one's gonna make a mod to tone this down for you. Just be realistic here. But there were some more talks about the mods for this game. Apparently the Shift Up CEO has shared his view on mods, basically saying a lot of them are still pretty limited. And he basically is challenging these modders to do better, to go further, I guess. And he's looking forward to more mods that not just target outfits and things like that, but also change the way that the game is enjoyed. So this is a pretty healthy reaction in my opinion, especially when so many developers just go crazy over mods. They get so angry. We've seen multiple companies try to do their best to take down mods, to
I think it's not only mods, developers and game companies in general have been super hostile and rude towards their audience, like Ubisoft telling customers not owning their games, EA with their predatory practices in FIFA and all that, Blizzard, of course, Nintendo, the worst company ever, and so many more. So seeing a company like Shift Up, Sandfall Interactive, Larian Studio, and Game Science actually caring about their consumers is simply such an easy win for them. Although I would wish some of the Asian studios stop using Denuvo. It hurts the gameplay so much every time they use that.
discourage people from making mods, to, of course, alter their single player experience that's not hurting any other player other than themselves.
Nintendo.
But anyways, people
them.
are also trying to downplay these numbers. You can see the journalist here, Paul Tassi, talked about him pretty recently. He said, the Stellar Blade curve is interesting as you can see just how Asia-focused it is.
This Paul Tassi guy is such a clown, and I don't think I have ever seen him writing anything worthy of praise or even has he ever made a good point about anything. You know what we call this kind of person in Malaysia? A sohai. This guy, Paul Tassi, is a big ass sohai. He's such a sohai person, man.
Prime gaming time in the West is pretty much its daily low point. And then they say in parentheses, tweet screenshot prevention. I am not saying this is bad. Then why are you bringing it up? This is such an obvious point. Everyone understands this game sold the best in Asia.
Why is it that every time an Asian game made by an Asian studio does well, Western news media always run offense against them? It happened with Black Myth Wukong, and now it's happening with Stellar Blade. Is this guy really trying to imply that Asians are all gooners? And are we Asians not good enough to be considered as consumers? Because what he is implying is that the metrics created by Asians are less significant because I guess our money is worse than Western money. Like, what the fuck, man? It's because of sohai Amors like this that Asians have started to hate Westerners more. Like fucking stupid ass Amor with their superiority complex. So annoying, man. It's like he's like saying Asians don't matter. Bro, a game selling well doesn't matter whether you're Asian, you're Western, or whatever. A customer is a customer. And yet people like this are trying so hard to make it a race thing. Fucking racist.
That's where the studio is. Like, of course it's going to sell the best there. We went through the same exact thing with Black Myth Wukong, where people try to downplay, millions of concurrent players by saying, well, it peaked pretty low when the East went to bed. Yeah, no kidding, dude. That's the region that they focused on the most. Duh. This is just a stupid, petty thing to bring up that's just trying to downplay these numbers that are incredibly impressive, even in the West. Now, of course, Paul is someone who has tried to downplay this game from the get-go back in last year, saying Stellar Blade is now the highest user-scored PS5 game ever, which is a bit excessive.
Why is it excessive? Because it's made by Asians? Like, more and more, I'm realizing that all this virtue signaling, 超阿嬷, are constantly hating for Asians for some reason. Do they assume we don't understand English and we should just take all the heat every single time? Like, what the fuck, man?
Why? It's not up to you. It's up to the players to decide that. But now they've come full circle, saying 10 things I wish I knew when I started Stellar Blade 2025 PC edition, where he is largely praising
this
game.
guy is an actual grifter.
He also shared an article from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, sharing the reasons why Dragon Age the Veilguard failed. And it's very interesting to see the comparison points between Stellar Blade and everything that happened with that versus Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is always some weird set of comparisons, but I guess, like I said, a lot of people make excuses for the Steam DB numbers of Veilguard when it came out, and now they're not making any sort of comment about that when it comes to Stellar Blade.
I will never understand why the so-called woke people love to blindly defend bad games. Like, the only good thing that came out from Veilguard were the memes and the absolute meltdown from Twitter and Reddit users who were getting offended at the idea that people hated this terrible-ass game.
Now we have, of course, Jason Schreier, who wrote this article that's being shared.
Another
He was the one who
Sohai.
infamously tried to preemptively spike the proverbial football on this one, where he said, go woke, go top the charts, showing the first day results of Dragon Age the Veilguard, and at the time it was 58,000 concurrent players.
Okay, so what about now? After, what, was it a year? Steam DB, Veilguard. Okay, apparently owning the charts. So, oh my god, 500 players. Apparently it's owning the charts. There's only 550 players playing right now. Amazing. And let's just see Black Myth Wukong for fun. Oh wow, there's still 22,000 people playing the game after 10 months. But okay, apparently Veilguard is still was a success. Was a huge success.
Where someone said, there's no way you genuinely liked this turd, where he said, I actually don't like the game very much, but I do like seeing you chuds get dunked on. This is a full-grown man unironically calling people chuds on social
like I said,
media
a Sohai.
dunk on them with a game that ultimately failed and caused
Jason
massive
Schreier and Paul
layoffs
Tassi are both
for
Sohai.
But this is the article itself.
The
This is a
biggest
screenshot.
Sohai.
I am not giving any support to Bloomberg. So you can see inside the Dragon Age debacle that gutted EA's BioWare studio. And
I
basically
hope
said they went through
BioWare
10
shut
years
downs.
of development turmoil. And here's
I
a
hope it
summation,
fucking
some
shut
highlights
downs.
of that article, saying there was a lot of immense pressure to succeed after the failure of Anthem, which, yeah, I could see that, as well as Andromeda too. The original concept was a small single-player experience, and then EA forced a pivot to a multiplayer live service format. Creative director resigned over the shift, and then you can see Anthem's failure in 2019 raised internal doubts about repeating mistakes. The pandemic just complicated things. In 2020, the project
Blaming
was
the pandemic.
pivoted back to single
Typical.
player, which, man, if it was a lot.
Okay, from what Rev just listed out, if BioWare knew they had to succeed, why the fuck did they decide to make Veilguard into a mental illness simulator? Who was the idiot in the company that convinced them to pander to the so-called modern audience? Like, seriously, whoever made the call to have woke elements incorporated into Veilguard deserves to be fired. And they have clearly zero understanding of what the rest of the world think about their bullshit. Because newsflash, we don't care about your stupid pronouns or how many genders there are. We only want good games, that's it.
Live service, multiplayer, dude. Can you imagine how much worse things could have been? But of course, the team only had 18 months to overhaul the structure and rewrite the story. Tight timelines, multiple delays, feedback from the alpha testing in 2022 pointed to a lack of impactful narrative decisions. BioWare brought in a second team to help finish the game. We already kind of knew that. The cultural clashes over the team caused a lot of issues. Some of the Mass Effect leaders rewrote
Honestly,
and added new
deserve to fail,
including
man.
the game's emotional finale. Dragon Age leads were frustrated, denied resources, and excluded from key meetings.
So even with all those changes, and Vilga still turned out to be completely trash? I do not want to know. I do not want to know what or how the original even looked like. If this is the level of writing they were able to put out after the changes, it's embarrassing.
The online multiplayer version's snarky tone felt outdated. Concerns it would resemble Forspoken led to last-minute dialogue rewrites. The dialogue was actually worse originally. That's pretty hard to believe, okay?
Definitely.
BioWare's future contributes
Insane.
around 5% of EA's annual revenue. EA primarily profits from sports and shooter games, and yada, yada, yada. So you get it. There was a lot going on, and honestly, a lot of it was just internal confusion, changing of the direction of this game multiple times, reverting giant pivots, like going from single player to multiplayer live service and then going back. That's obviously pretty hard to deal with, and bringing in multiple teams to try to finish this and tweak the dialogue as much as humanly possible. But I think a lot of this stuff talks about the internal issues, but doesn't talk about the optics. This game just had the worst optics ever. Everyone knows this who's being honest about it. It got dismissed as a woke game, and the dialogue and the direction of the story was impacted by clearly the agenda of some people working at BioWare, or at least some of the people. And the numbers of this, you just don't explain this away with all the excuses we've heard. And you can just look at the numbers. I mean, instant.
I still remember it was fucking hilarious that the Dragon Age subreddit went to war with the Bilgard subreddit, and how Bilgard fans were calling Dragon Age fans transphobes, racist, and everything else in the dictionary for disagreeing with them. It was so funny. Like, actual games of the series were being attacked for not liking the new game, which is not only insane, but it just shows how mind broken the woke crowd actually is. Apparently, criticizing a game is an attack on your entire worldview. How delusional can you be? I don't understand.
Drop off. And again, this just doesn't explain everything. Just looking at the article, clearly the optics of this were really bad. And of course, there's explanations for this. Some people brought up that YouTubers designating this game as woke was one of the reasons it failed. And Paul Tassi said, it's easy to push back on this, but when the woke debates consume literally an entire online marketing campaign, that can in fact be damaging. And yes, Asmongold trashing something does actually matter now. Like,
yes.
Not that you should.
I love how in the recent years, every single bad thing that happens in the gaming industry or anywhere else on the internet, they immediately blame Asmongold. But I thought people said that the anti-woke crowd is in the minority. They are in the minority, and the modern audience is alive and well. So how is it that Asmongold has the power to affect sales if the rest of the world is according to them, and we're the minority? It doesn't make sense. Then again, I don't think logic applies to them. Also, did people forget how terrible the writing was in Vilgard? And not to mention that pronoun scene in the game. That was probably the cringiest thing I've ever seen in a game. And I watch fucking anime. I'm a weeb. I was born cringe. And even then, that scene in Vilgard had me so disturbed, man. I could not even watch that play out. That was so bad.
Cater to that, but it's where we are. I disagree. I think people like Asmongold have an impact, but at the end of the day, a lot of people, not everyone watches Asmongold.
Yeah, not everyone watches Asmongold. My friends don't even know about him, and yet they know about the Vilgard situation and also the Assassin's Creed Japan thing. My friends were all memeing about the Black Samurai. You don't need to know Asmongold to have common sense. That's it.
He's very popular, but you have to understand the giant normie market for a Dragon Age IP. A lot of them did not see his review or any review from YouTubers. And on top of that, we were told over and over again that YouTubers and anyone with a platform criticizing this game, irrelevant. You didn't matter. And now all of a sudden, people like Asmongold are so powerful, they control markets. And down here, someone basically says, I disagree. And he replies by saying, it is not a clear majority, it's a loud minority. No game fails purely because it's woke. Not this, not Concord, or whatever you're going to reference.
This guy is delusional.
Also have real issues separate from all of that, obviously.
I mean, no shit. Of course there were other issues with failed games like Concord, but you can't deny the fact that it failed on arrival because of the woke stuff. People already decided right away to not buy the game after seeing the character designs and the pronoun bullshit, because we have all been conditioned to recognize the game, recognize the pattern for the games that have this kind of elements in them. And yes, I think Concord would have still failed because it's a live service game with no recognizable characters, but if they remove the woke stuff and had more appealing character designs, I'm pretty sure it would have at least lasted a bit longer than what the original Concord lasted for. Yes, the woke elements aren't the main concern, but it definitely hinders the potential of the game, at least hinders the sale. And the fact that he's trying to downplay it is so baffling to me. It's crazy.
And he's getting clowned on and criticized pretty hard for this, trying to downplay this stuff and say it's the loud minority that's causing games to fail. Where is the silent majority? Where are they? Because if they existed,
they don't exist.
They would show up. This is not some gigantic leap of faith to go out and buy a video game you like. If you're interested in, you're hearing some negative things from a supposed loud minority, you're still going to go and buy it. I'm sorry. Why would you let a loud minority affect you? It just seems odd. And honestly, the loud minority has always been the activists on Twitter, the woke people, the people trying to push agenda and control.
Yeah, because the people on Twitter and Reddit that defend woke games don't actually care or play games. All they want is to promote their stupid ass rhetoric and agenda. They never cared about games to begin with. They just want to have their hands in the pie. That's it. They just want to force themselves into the gaming industry for no apparent reason. You know what? I think it's because nerd culture has become so popular lately. Like, it's cool to now like anime, to call yourself a gamer and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure most of this mentally ill crowd trying to supplant themselves inside the industry, like inside the fan base, so that they can spread their gospel more. That's it. I think that's the main reason why they have become so prevalent lately. Not lately, for the past like 5 years.
Control what these games are allowed to do or not to do in order to serve their agenda. That's the loud minority, and it's been proven over and over again with games that try to cater to them. This is so obvious. I don't understand how anyone is trying to pretend like this is the reality when it's really the opposite.
Because they genuinely believe they are the majority. I mean, they managed to even convince an entire industry into believing this crap and creating games based on it. I think they genuinely, the rest of the world cares about their LGBTQ, their stupid ass woke movement.
But of course, Stellar Blade's got an amazing thing here. Shift Up got an amazing thing here. And anything that they're going to be working on next, everyone's super excited. But Sony...
Hell yeah.
What are we doing? Sony now remains committed to diverse and resilient live service games, including forthcoming marathon and fair games, despite high-profile failures. Yes.
I mean, oh my god, it's actually insane how Sony doesn't seem to know how to learn its lesson. They're being so stubborn. I'm not sure it's because of the people in power inside Sony that actually wants to push this, or the consultant they hire for like market research is actually still lying to them. Because no way Sony, after Concord and like a few other Sony exclusive titles have failed, how is it possible they still have the audacity to continue with a project like Marathon. That's actually so insane. Whether you want to call it out of touch or like coping or just double downing or just doubling down. Sony, man, you guys already have a winning formula in Astrobot and also Stellar Blade, and what else? I can't even think of any other like good Sony games recently. So yeah, I mean, you already have two formulas for success. Why not just try to not exactly replicate it, just try to expand on it? And Sony has so many beloved titles like Crash Bandicoot, Jack and Daxter. Like, where are those? And Spyro, where are those games? Just reboot them, or maybe remake them, or create a new title with them. You have so many beloved IPs, but you decide to go with this shit. And what is with Sony trying so hard to create a live service game? No one cares about live service games. We want single player games that are fun. Like, not some fucking looter shooter. We don't care. Like, most people don't care.
They see what happens to games like Concord. They see how these live service games struggle. They see how games like Stellar Blade succeed. But they choose the wrong options. There's a right option and a wrong one here from a common sense standpoint, and they're sticking with Marathon and Fair Games, which are going to struggle mightily. It's rare you can just look at stuff and say, yep, that's not going to do well. And that's an example of that. That's what people said when they saw Concord, and guess what? That's what people are saying when they see Marathon and Fair Games. And the fact they're sticking with the stuff, insane. But anyways, not to diminish the great day or great week for Stellar Blade, but that's some of the other stuff going on and some of the people fighting back at the success of this game and trying to diminish it. But for now, it's
Again, amazing video by Rev. I really hope Sony stops wasting time and resources on pushing the woke stuff, because it's not gonna help them anytime soon. And they certainly can't rely on the modern audience. There's only like, what, 100 or so people? I don't know. But whatever. Stellar Blade is winning and the wokies are crying. Name a better combination. Honestly, the future of gaming is looking good when more people have common sense nowadays. It seems that not more people have common sense. It seems that people have started to notice what all these activists are doing, and we are fighting back against it. So screw the wokies, man. Like, screw them. But yeah, amazing video by Rev.